time another just called Davis and Jam. You the cover not too slow bank for not so home just getting along to cover no thing. Oh, but Davis is stand light the shoes go my man. You can trust to the match called the rain girls.
Hey, sports fans and savages, welcome to the Greg Medford Show. I'm your host, Greg, here in Phoenix, Arizona, in our little corner of the factory. In our continuing series as the fledgling third leg of the American milk stool. Today we're going to talk to somebody, not a politician, somebody whose nose is poking in politics. We're going to talk about just local things. Now, I don't care if you're from Des Moines, if you're from Boston, Springfield, Springerville, Sacramento, Spokane. These are all things that everything we're going to talk about today is germane and relevant to what's going on in your neighborhood, your town today. And, one of the most important things that's come out of the 2020 election is how much so many of us were busy just doing our lives and buying our next house and taking care of our kids. And we forgot the rule of the republic, the rule of democracy, which is staying plugged in and involved, even at the local level. It's paramount. We always want to have these big fights about president. We always want to have these big fights about national politics. And we forget, in some ways, how much sway can happen at the very, very small level to sway a state, and a state can sway a nation. Look at what Ron DeSantis has done out in Florida over the last couple of years. It's a powerful leadership principle. Small things can lead in big ways, and we've seen that happening all over the country. Kristi Noem, Ron DeSantis, Greg Abbott. You see these great conservatives, and what they do is they set a national dialogue especially when there's a vacuum of leadership. When there's great leadership, they are in the shadow of great leadership. When there is a vacuum or aberrant leadership, they're the counter voice that makes it gives us all an experiment to aspire to. When the experiment in California is working, the Florida experiment, we look at that and go, okay, there's something that's working. So today, we call it our milk stool series, Bobby. I think that's what we'll call it. So the milk stool is the three-legged milk stool of the American experiment, right? One is us, the people. Two is our elected folks we send and we relinquish some of our God-given authority to so that they can put together a body that can do something to benefit all of us, because it does, at some level, takes a village, right? Military, defense, all those kind of things. So we relinquish a little bit of our own God-given power to a group of elected people we can kick out of office. And then the third leg of the milk stool is a free and independent press, which stands neutral off to the side, pointing to the strikes and balls of both the people and our elected representatives. Unfortunately, the republic is failing right now, and it's failing badly. And one of the reasons it's failing, and probably the biggest reason, is the press has abdicated its responsibility. Nobody would sign the Constitution unless there was a Bill of Rights. They couldn't ratify the Constitution. In other words, we won a revolution. We cast ourselves aside from the greatest world nautical power that had ever existed, Great Britain, to become our own nation, and nobody would buy on to the experiment without the Bill of Rights. They wouldn't sign. The Bill of Rights was a reaction formation to the Constitution, which enough states felt was inadequate to protect them from being run over by Boston, Philadelphia, and New York. So they wanted a Bill of Rights. Free speech, assembly, prayer, right to keep and bear arms, quartering, all of the stuff that's in the Bill of Rights. First 10 amendments, right? Like, hey, we wrote what seems to be from the outside, a divinely inspired document that is so good, it's changed the entire trajectory of humanity since its inception and publication. A one-page document. Maybe the Magna Carta, maybe the Declaration of Independence, and this seminal human document that changed more people's lives and elevated more people out of subsistence living than any other thing in all of human history. And they said, oh, our bad. There's these 10 little things we need to get everybody on board. And free speech wasn't number 8. It was number 1. A free and independent press. Predicated upon that. And they haven't been doing their job. They haven't been doing it for a long time. And what happened is, the American public, we have been like frogs in boiling pots of water. We've woken up to it boiling, and we got here 1 degree at a time. So now, because they won't do their job, lunatics like me have to hurt my business by getting on here and speaking my mind and having people on to offer a counterpoint to the party line of bullshit that's been lied to us. So, under the guise of that, Jason Grandon, welcome to the show. Nice to have you here.
Hey, thanks for having me. This place is fantastic.
Thanks. You got your have you been in factories before?
I've been in factories before, but nothing like this.
Yeah.
I have a whole new respect. I was just telling one of your gals there, when I go have a steak tonight for dinner, I am going to just really look at that knife when I cut that steak, because it's absolutely amazing the product, the stuff that goes into making a knife.
Yeah,
it's absolutely amazing.
You know, there's not too many things like it, and people don't understand the reason why the knife business is so hard to keep in America is because it is so craftsmanship oriented, and each knife requires a bunch of different specialties in the post-industrial revolution specialization phase of American commerce and manufacturing. Companies get really specialized at what they do on the kind of MBA model of, you should really just focus on what you're great at and let everybody else do what you're mediocre at. And there's some sense to that. There's also some sense to, hey, if you need 5 really critical things, do you want to relinquish the control of your awesomeness to 4 other people just because you're only good at 1? Or
Right.
should you just learn the other 4 and be awesome? And I'm kind of old school. I'm like, learn the other 4 and be awesome.
Exactly.
That way you control your destiny. You know what I mean?
Well, this is absolutely amazing. I had absolutely no idea the amount of work that goes into making one knife and how each one is crafted by your incredible staff.
It's crazy.
It's nuts.
If anybody told, I would have never gotten in this business and done this if I would have found out, if I would have realized what I realize now. But here I am now, and I'm happy for it. But I mean, oh my God, it's nuts.
No, it's amazing. Now, I got to tell you, Arizona should be incredibly proud to have a business like this sitting right here.
Well, thank you. It's very fun doing it.
Well, you're doing a good job. Although it looks like you are outgrowing it. Time for a bigger building.
Yeah. What do they say in Jaws? Time for a bigger boat. We're going to need a bigger boat. So tell me a little bit. We've run into each other at least one fundraiser. I think I've seen you at 2 fundraisers.
Yeah, we've been a couple. With Chandler a couple weeks ago, and then the couple in Cave Creek.
Okay. And for you guys who don't know this or maybe don't keep up on this, you kind of, as soon as you got a couple bucks to throw around, you kind of get on lists and you start getting invited to support people. And, everybody loves getting a big check, but what really gives them momentum is lots and lots of little checks. So you see folks like Carrie Lake. Carrie Lake's going around Arizona, and she's just outworking everybody. Her ground game's amazing. So she's doing, fundraisers and meet and greets every day. Now, she's gotten pretty big now. I don't know if she's still doing that, but I think she does. I think every day she's doing stuff.
She does. In fact, I know she's doing one this morning. And I'm actually getting calls from people like, who do we vote for? Which Republican candidate?
I get all of that too. And there's this weird bifurcation in the party right now. I want to punch in the face these really polite country club Republicans. I'm disgusted by them. I'm sure they're nice people. Like, I'm sure Doug Ducey's a nice person. I would rather punch him in the face than him spend one more day in office.
Yep.
I hate him. I don't need another yes man, get along, go along, conservative rhino. I think he's a rhino.
No, I agree. I agree.
We're confronting right now is this uniparty paradigm. Republicans that are just like Democrats and they vote for sensible gun laws. I just, these guys, I want to hit the delete button on all of them.
Oh, I'm with you. What really irritates me is they'll go on TV and they're like, I'm a conservative, and then one of their counterparts will bash them. Then they're at lunch together. I would never go sit and eat with somebody who just blatantly doesn't like me or bashes me on TV.
And it's funny too. Like, I don't mind civilness and cordiality. I don't know if cordiality is a word. I don't mind people being cordial that are rivals, but there is something to be said for if your rival is phony.
Right.
I've got people that I am absolutely rivals with, and I can go to lunch with them. And we just dance around. We avoid certain topics because it's just not going to go well.
Right.
But I mean, I'm civil. I can pull that off. So I don't mind that. What I really mind is people saying they're conservatives and then voting for gun laws.
Oh, absolutely.
People saying they're conservatives and being okay with censorship.
Absolutely.
People saying they're conservatives and supporting big government overreach at every level.
Or wearing a mask continuously.
Right.
And just following the TV. It's ridiculous.
Compliant silliness. So it seems like there's this weird paradigm right now where I think we're calling them America First candidates.
Right. Yep. A ton of them.
Yeah. So we've got America First candidates, and then we've got what I would call mainstream Republicans. And it's really the thing that my friends are all calling me up too. I mean, I get multiple calls a day asking about how to vote. And basically I'm like, I'm going for the radical America First. And I don't know why it's radical to be America First.
I don't know why it is either. And quite honestly, I like some of our candidates that have no experience. No political experience.
You know, it's funny. I feel the same way because I honestly think most of our problems are really not complicated. I think our dumb solutions are complicated.
Right.
I think the secondary problems. But I like some of the inexperienced folks because they have kind of a practical horse sense about them, and they don't care about all the allegiances that everybody else.
No, exactly.
The people that are in the know, like, oh, you don't want to do that because then this congressman's going to be a pain in the ass. I'm like, who cares? Burn the house down.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm fine with that.
So we get some calls, and this was actually a Carrie Lake call the other day. This gal calls me, and she's like, I don't know if I can vote for Carrie Lake. I'm like, okay, who else can you vote for? She goes, well, I'm going to vote for that other lady. And I'm like, listen, why? And she goes through the whole deal, and I'm like, she was just endorsed by Pence and Ducey. That should tell you something right there. But I said, okay, politics aside, let's look at Carrie's family. Jeff is incredible. This guy is absolutely amazing. Camera guy at all the events. Her kids, absolutely amazing. You can sit there and talk to them. So to me, that tells me, you know what? They have a good family life, and they're teaching their kids morals. Some of the other politicians, you can't talk to anybody.
Well, listen, here's the deal. I mean, we reached out to Carrie. Carrie's come in the factory. And look, I've got a very strong Karen Robeson connection, and I can't get her to come on the show or talk to me.
Right.
So she's inaccessible. She's got more signs up than I've ever seen before, but I've not seen her at any events, and she seems like a buttoned up mouth, talking out of both sides of her mouth, a lawyer. She seems like a lawyer. Absolutely.
And she, because I have had the opportunity to meet her, and talks down to you. If you're not on that billionaire level, you're getting talked down to a little bit.
Really?
A little condescending.
Yeah, that the folks in that class have a hard time not doing that if they've done big stuff. Who's interesting and an exception to that is Jim Lehman. Lehman doesn't talk down to you when you talk to him.
Jim is fantastic.
I love him. I think he's great.
And so, love Trump. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
Wrong endorsement.
Trump made a mistake.
Yep.
Trump's he's an A in my opinion. He's an A. He's not a B. He's not a B plus. He's an A. But you can still get an A with 92% right, 8% wrong.
Correct.
I think he was wrong on that. And you know what? Blake's a really nice guy too. We've had him on the show. He was very gracious and came in. Honestly, he's a bright dude. He does talk like a lawyer, which is a little annoying to us common folks that just like get stuff done. But he is not spoke on substance. He's a reactionary conservative. And that's how I am looking at these folks.
Absolutely.
These folks who are reacting to the bad government, now they're deciding they're conservatives. I go, oh, hold on a second. Jim's got an agenda of things he wants to do. His water thing is pretty amazing.
Jim overall is just amazing. He's doing 5-6 events a day as well.
Well, he's another guy. I mean, he's not resting on his laurels. Not only is he showing up with his own money, but his ground game's fantastic. I went and spoke with him at an event. I was the only speaker at the event. There was 400 people there.
Yep.
I mean, I was like, wow, this is a big bunch. He gets a big group of people together, and he's doing it every day, multiple times.
Exactly. So what's your thoughts on these politicians that are drawing big crowds? I mean, it's like rock concerts at some of these events. We've been at a couple Carrie Lake events.
Listen, I'll tell you, I was at the Trump rally on Saturday, and to see the reaction of the crowd to Carrie, I mean, I just got goosebumps talking about it. It's pretty amazing. Trump has done something to politics. He's changed it. And he's basically, it's the first time in years in my lifetime we've ever seen a guy there. I mean, he's a billionaire who doesn't talk down to us.
Right.
He's a billionaire who he wants us to thrive.
Absolutely. And he loves America.
And he changed everything. And he's bigger than a rock star. I've never seen anything like it. And you know what? Nobody has. If you haven't been, even if you don't like Trump, you should go to a Trump rally.
Absolutely.
I've brought non-Trumpers to Trump rallies, and they come away a little befuddled because it's awesome.
People waiting 4 days in advance to get in, mile-long lines to get into the arenas. It is. It's absolutely amazing.
So I brought a gal who's running for office here in town. I brought her to the Trump thing on Saturday, and she's an upper-class gal, and she's not easily impressed. And she had said on the way up there, hey, once all the hobnobbing is over and Trump gets up, we could knock off, and if you want. She's like, I know you've been a bunch of times. If you want to leave in the middle of it, we can go with and beat the crowd and get back to town. And I said, okay. And I was like, cool. I've left before the end of Trump talking because he goes 2.5 hours, sometimes in an hour and 45 minutes. I'm like, okay, I love you, Trump. I got to go, buddy. So about halfway in, I was like, I said, hey, you ready to go? And she was like, not quite yet. And then I checked it like a half an hour later. I'm like, hey, you want to go now so we can beat the crowd? She's like, no, I'm enjoying it. I really want to stay to the end. And it's not a knock on her. It's very common for people that talk for a couple hours for you to be like, hey, we can beat it out of here before they're done. She was a newbie. She went to it. She didn't want to leave.
That's fantastic.
And I was like, I just kind of sit back because I'm like, that's my fucking guy. I just sit back. And I just enjoy it. I enjoy being around him, and I enjoy being around all the people at the rally. And to see Kerry come in was nuts.
No, yeah, I saw that part, and it was crazy. But it's kind of a little bit like your business. Your employees follow you, and so their attitude kind of resembles yours so top down. And it's the same thing when Trump was in office. We had people that wanted to work, they wanted to hustle, they wanted to make things better. Now we got a guy that can't even go to the bathroom without peeing in his pants. And that's where we're at right now.
Good leadership is infectious, and bad leadership is infectious. And we have bad leadership infecting the world right now.
Absolutely.
And it's hiding. We left Europe because Europe sucks.
Yep.
And for my European customers who watch this, I love the buildings. I love the churches. I love the beer. I love some of the beaches. I love Le Mans and the Grand Prix, and I Monaco and all these. There's a lot of cool places in Europe, but Europe sucks. The food sucks. There's a malaise. There's a lack of funding. There is a lack of freedom. There's a cloud of oppression that rides over everybody, and sometimes they don't even know it. They just think that's the way it should be. You know why they walk around? They can't do anything else.
Yep.
You know why they drink wine, walk around, and keep mistresses? Nobody can afford to do anything. That's all they can do.
No, exactly.
They can't afford. Everybody I know has got a race car, a boat, couple of motors. They don't have all that stuff over there. They can't do shit.
No, it's crazy.
It's awful. And so America we're a counterpoint to backwards thinking, over-controlled, divine right of kings monarchy, and the ring in the toilet bowl of monarchy. Here's the ring in the toilet bowl. The monarchies ended for the most part, right?
Yep.
And their control ended. And what's left? A compliant population of descendants granted their freedom by kings. That's who's left in Europe.
Yep.
A compliant population of descendants granted their freedom. I wasn't granted my freedom. My family, we claimed it.
Yep.
From here as Americans. It's from God. The king can't grant me my freedom. Fuck you. You know what I mean?
No, exactly. It's funny because this weekend at church, there was a pastor from Seattle, of all places, that came into church, and he was telling us how bad Seattle is, and it's horrible. And he's like, don't be mad at the person who's making these decisions. It's because they don't have God. And I don't want to turn into a religious discussion, but they don't have God in their life. And we're seeing that. And when you start taking God and the Bible out of things, you're seeing some messed up stuff.
It's very hard you have to be a real radical once you kill God.
Absolutely.
You have to be a real radical to hold on to liberty because liberty is very tough.
Absolutely.
But if you're tethered through belief in a higher power to liberty, because the whole Christian tale, really predates the oppression of Europe.
Yep.
And then Europe goes through several iterations of itself post-Christianity. But the entire Christian tale is about individual relationship with God It's about self-actualization. It's about personal empowerment.
Absolutely.
And that's why the communists in their it's doctrinally it's antithetical to communism, because communism is not about any of those things. That's why the communists, first thing they have to do is kill God.
No, absolutely. And you're seeing that right now with a lot of our politicians.
Yeah.
Take God out of everything you're doing, no Bible, and there's an attack on Christianity.
Yeah, and you know, there's plenty, you know, Christians are humans and flawed, and religion is run by humans who are flawed, and religion has gotten off the rails a few times.
Absolutely, it has.
But you know what we see is this: you know, you kill God, kill the family, kill the culture, own the country.
Exactly.
And there's a playbook that we see getting played out before our eyes.
Well, and onto that playbook part. This is the big thing that I've been kind of preaching to all the Arizona people, because I'm a native of Arizona. I love it.
Yeah.
Love Arizona. Love watching the growth. Everyone gets so involved in national politics. Oh, I like Trump. I like Biden. Whatever. If you like Biden, you're an idiot. But they get involved in this national. The important stuff we need to concentrate on. If you're gonna be involved in your community, you have to focus on the small little stupid things that are happening in Arizona. School boards. Who's getting elected to Chamber of Commerce?
Yeah.
Those little things are the ones that are making these big issues.
Board of Supervisors.
Board of Supervisors, exactly.
You know, I so badly want a little mark to be put on these Republicans who are not mainstreamers.
Yeah, absolutely. They
Because
need
that's
to.
who I want to go for.
Yep.
You know, I totally agree with you. You know, the interesting thing is we've never quite seen the power that Ron DeSantis has wielded, and he has no more power than anyone else ever.
Yep.
He has no more power. He's just been willing to be outspoken and not quite as incendiary as Trump has been. But, you know, I don't know how incendiary or inflammatory Trump was. I think the children of Washington, D.C. just had a temper tantrum since before he got in.
Oh, I agree.
He doesn't seem that inflammatory to me. I mean, he's hysterical. He says some funny shit. You can hear him working. You know, he didn't do. You know, it's interesting. If you ever sit behind closed doors with a group of people tasked to solve a problem,
Right.
you'll hear crazy ideas. Like, I'm sure if you sat in a boardroom at NASA, you'd hear some bizarre ideas on how to get to Mars.
Right.
And you got to have people floating fringe ideas, because sometimes there's something really valuable to pull away. You know, you can't just do what's everyone agrees on, because that's not innovative. It's not insightful. You don't get surprise wins.
No, exactly. You need those whack job ideas to create new ideas that will tie into that.
And sometimes what I think most Americans miss, because everybody's so controlled trying to be perfect, there's working groups that solve problems, and Trump involved us in the working group. You could see him at a 2.5-hour press conference. You could see him working through ideas and spitballing. Like, hey, you know, maybe we do need a Space Force. Now, what everyone doesn't know is he just got briefed on all the space junk flying around that's creating problems, that China's working on anti-missile technology from space. The Russians are launching space warfare satellites. He's been hearing all that stuff. Then somebody's bringing up, he said, you know what, maybe we do need a Space Force. Hey, let's go work on the Space Force thing. They're not used to hearing somebody just working.
Yep.
They're usually hearing these prepared public policy pieces that the team came up with, and then the president spouts off these little prepared little bits. You know what I mean?
No, absolutely. And that's what we need to get back to. We need to get back to the kid in the back of the class that says, hey, I got this idea. Let's do this. And start going from there.
Yeah, it's you know, when the 2020 election went down the way it did, when I call it the 2020 insurrection, when that went down the way it did, I remember the Trump campaign was saying, get involved in your local school boards. They started saying it right away.
Yep.
And what we're seeing is we have all of these battles at the political level, at the state and national level, and it's like whack-a-mole, because our population is already brainwashed. They're done.
They are. It's horrible. And how do you unbrainwash them? There's a new group of kids that are coming up that aren't voting age that are not brainwashed, and they're going to probably save us. But right now, we've got a big generation of idiots that we just got to get back to normal or get them out of the way.
You know, it's crazy. It's all the way back to, I don't know how old you are, but it's all the way back to my 50, 60-year-old group. We've been brainwashed too. I
Yep.
mean, not so much me. I've broken the egg and stepped out, but I'm a lunatic. Most people, when you hear reasonable people talking, when I hear folks that are reasonable, I used to think were just reasonable, lovely people, and I hear them talk politics, I go, "Oh, you poor brainwashed ding dong! How could you possibly believe that? That smacks in the face of observable reality."
Yep. Yeah, exactly.
So let's talk some local politics, because this is affecting everybody at every level. At the school board level, what do you see going on? Now, you and I, we happen to live in the same school district.
Correct. So we're in Cave Creek.
Yeah.
So
I'm in Cave Creek, but carefree, but nobody up in my area has kids, so we all use the Cave Creek school district.
Well, my sister and I, we have a number one brother and sister real estate team out here in Arizona. So we handle the entire state. And a few years back, and I have two boys. I've got a 16-year-old and a 5-year-old. So my wife and I are kind of like, God, he's going to a public school. He's 16 now. So when we started at Horseshoe Trails in Cave Creek, it was great. You had a great superintendent, great principal. They did good things. Now things have changed, and all of a sudden you start seeing different things. Secret PTOs.
Well, tell me about the secret PTO thing.
So I got an email yesterday from a couple of the parents, and apparently, and I don't know 100%, but they're pretty good on it, and actually you probably know who they are. But they're in the process, they're a nonprofit in Cactus Shadows trying to get a couple school board members elected that are quote-unquote liberal. And so this is the kind of thing that they're just trying to pull over the face of everyone. That's why it's important that, hey, yeah, I'm friends with this guy, but I can't vote for him if he's running for school board. So we know there's two conservative. Oh, that's the other thing too. There is no such thing as nonpartisan. They put these races out there like school board is a nonpartisan race. That's 100% horseshit.
No, it's a complete lie.
It completely. They pick people on there so they can get their liberal agenda done. They can get the mask back on the kids.
Now,
or whatever.
who's pushing for this?
So there's a group of people in Cave Creek and even in Scottsdale. The school boards are the ones that are pushing for it. If you notice, Scottsdale, liberal. Cave Creek, 3 of the 5 members, liberal. And it's like this throughout the school districts, and whoever it may be is pushing to get liberal people on these school boards so they can start stealing taxpayers' money. They can start getting the kids back on mask. San Diego, I think, is going back to mask.
Like, why? Why is anybody talking about masks in Arizona? I mean, I haven't heard anybody talking about that.
It's crazy because they're nut jobs. They're following some sort of agenda that's being given to them from some liberal left-wing think tank. Then you've got the other thing. You've got your superintendents. Arizona, Maricopa County alone has 58 superintendents. So every school has its own superintendent, $250,000 plus a year. Why do we need 58 superintendents? If you're in first grade, 1 + 1 is 2. That's what you should be learning. We don't need sex ed in kindergarten through 6th grade or whatever it is.
And we don't have that in Arizona, do we?
Yeah, we do have that. In fact, our Jaden was in 3rd or 4th grade, and they sent home a sheet wanting to teach a sex ed class. It's crazy. Kids don't need that. They need to learn how to color. They need to know how to, do kids things. And now the other thing, you and I will probably agree on this because we're pretty much the same age, the bullying bit. They created this new plan several years back. If your kid's getting bullied, come tell a teacher. When you and I were in school, if we were getting bullied by someone was getting their face punched in.
Yeah, the rule was you have to stick up for yourself, and if you have to punch somebody in the face and get an ass whooping afterwards, they probably won't do it to you again. Even if you get an ass whooping, it's okay.
Yeah, exactly. I always told everybody, you know what? You might whip my ass, but you better bring a lunch because it's going to be a long ass whipping.
Yeah. I was like, hey, you may whip my ass, but I'm gonna come get you again.
Exactly.
I think we're new to the district. We had come from PV, so we moved up there, and my daughter went into Cactus Shadows during COVID. It's been awful, and I met with the principal up at the school, and I thought she was a waste of space. She was giving me excuses for why she couldn't hire a non-state certified French teacher.
Right.
When the one they have is an Italian specialist and barely speaks French, and the kids can't pass their their IB French test because they're not prepared. No,
exactly. And now they've lost 35 teachers this year, the high school or the district, and they just can't keep it together. Part of the problem is, and this is kind of where I fault Trump on some stuff on the national side, when you get somebody new that comes in, and we have a new superintendent up there. This is like the 2nd or 3rd year. He just got another raise. Get rid of the old people, the ones that are running the show. There's a few people that sit in that office that are really political, and if they don't like you, you're not getting stuff done. those people need to go. So sometimes when you go into a new position, you've got to get rid of the old people in there.
Yeah. There's this thing where you're like, well, I got to have people know what's going on. And there's this other thing that says, if this building blew up, everything would still function. They'd go to school tomorrow.
Exactly.
It's not that important.
Although, you guys can stay at home and work online. Horrible move.
Horrible.
And now they added 5 minutes earlier, 10 minutes later to get out, and every Wednesday's a half day. How is that helping parents that are working when their kids getting out at 12:30? It's crazy. And these are decisions that are being made by a board. They're spending $20,000 to $30,000 to get elected to work a free full-time job. That should tell you something right there. Why does my friend want to do that? Because he's crazy.
Yeah, the half day on Wednesdays is bananas. Now, are they doing it with junior high also?
They're doing it. I know all the schools in Cave Creek are doing it.
Oh, are they?
From what I understand, yep.
Oh, okay.
It's crazy. How is a one-parent family, how are they supposed to work? They got to take a half day off?
Well, the kids take the bus home and they're home by themselves.
Exactly.
That's bananas.
And what are they going to do? They're going to sit in front of the TV, play video games, watch YouTube, learn how to smoke weed, or do something stupid.
Yeah. Do you guys have TV at home?
Yeah, in the house?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't have TV. It's funny. Every now and then, when I haven't been traveling much the last couple of years, I'm surprised at how much gay, trans, lesbian stuff is going on. Like, you hear it and you figure, oh, it's just the news being incendiary. It's everywhere. Everywhere.
It's crazy. So we have a 5-year-old. Hey, I want to go see the Buzz Lightyear movie. Nope. There is absolutely no reason for Disney to throw this in the kid's face.
Did they put a lesbian character in there?
I believe they did. There was a makeout scene. I didn't see it, but I'm not going to watch it.
It's funny. I'm not afraid of that stuff. I don't really care about it. I just don't like it being crammed down my throat.
No, hey, you know what? Even to a point where you have a regular couple making out, and all of a sudden the movies have to go to total sex scenes and stuff. We at the point when they started kissing, why does it need to go to a 5-minute scene where you see some guy's ass in the screen and stuff? It's crazy. It's the same thing with, you got to have your transgender dating a half Chinese, half black girl who just got back from, wherever it is. It's crazy.
I don't, TV on hold, it's not very relatable to me, so I don't really care about it. And the shows are silly, so I don't really care about it. It's funny. I don't want to watch conservative stuff crammed down my throat. I don't want to watch Christian stuff crammed down my throat. I don't want to watch anti-Christian stuff crammed down my throat. I don't want Jewish stuff crammed. I don't want anybody cramming their agenda down my throat. If I'm turning on a screen, I just want some entertainment.
Absolutely.
I don't want somebody trying to indoctrinate me. And it's one of the reasons, the reason I stopped, and you slice off one of my limbs, what's going to squirt out is capitalism. I'm a big fan of capitalism.
Yes, you are.
But I got rid of TV because of the commercials.
Right.
I don't want corporate America wiggling its nose into my home. I don't want them telling me what I need.
No, I agree. It's funny. I was researching the ad council because you see these ads that come up.
Yeah.
And you got a couple kids playing and, no bullying or whatever it is. So I noticed that was created during World War II in 1941. And it was supposed to bring people together. And now it's turned into a social issue deal. And the people that run it are all these crazy liberals with their ideas. You never see any regular stuff like, hey, smack your kid on the ass and get him out and mow the lawn. It's hire a landscaper, let your kid rest, that kind of garbage.
There's a softness that definitely permeates a very successful culture. It's the modern equivalent to Romans laying around in togas eating grapes while fornicating.
Yep, exactly. So I grew up on a big horse ranch out here, a big Arabian horse ranch. And so we'd have our son's birthday party at the ranch. Kids would come over, there'd be, 30, 40 kids. And, when I was growing up, we'd go out, shovel shit, grab a hamburger, eat, didn't even think about washing hands, okay? So now...
Gross.
Isn't it gross?
Yeah, I'm a finicky former Marine.
Well, now the kids come there and they pet the horses and the parents like, get hand sanitizer. It's like, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Pet that horse, go eat a hamburger or whatever. And you wonder why your kids are sick.
Yeah, there was a study about kids that had leukemia, and they had said that children who were raised in homes that didn't have pets were more likely to have leukemia than children.
Wow.
Yeah, it's really like, an actual real thing. You can Google it and read the study on it. And they believe it was because the exposure to viruses and germs, foreign and human, you build up this just strong flora and fauna. And it also fights off all kinds of other things, not just foreign invasion, internal invasion, right?
Well, you got to wonder about people that don't have pets. I don't want a dog or a cat or a ferret or a fish. What kind of life is that? You got to have these animals.
Well, I'm a selfish bachelor, so I can't have a pet because it just doesn't fit my lifestyle.
Right.
I had a dog until a couple of months ago, and one of the guys in my shop just loved the dog, and she used to run up. I said, man, you can have her. His dog's getting long in the tooth. I gave my dog away.
Well, you've got a huge business here. I mean, this is absolutely amazing. So I don't know how you get to do anything.
This thing is kind of nuts, and I get home and I can't take care of anything. I gotta unplug my brain because at the end of the day, I'm usually a hamburger. So you are involved in some charities. You do some volunteer work, or
Yeah, so one of the things about growing up out here, and this comes with age, I think, but it's important for people to get involved. And you don't have to give money to it. Just sometimes your time, hour a week, 2 weeks, whatever. Sometimes that's the best way to do it. So Amy and I, she used to do the Celebration of Christmas, which is the big church production for Dream Center. So, for years I handled the Flying Angels. So that was, 15 hours a week, all the shows, doing that stuff. And so now we do some stuff with Turning Point, which is a local charity here. We love them. And on the board for human trafficking.
Okay.
So it's important to get involved and just kind of give back. I mean, because we've been blessed. I mean, we have a really successful real estate business. And so we want to make sure that the people we're dealing with that are coming to Arizona know that it's, hey, Arizona first.
So Turning Point, that's Charlie Kirk's organization.
Correct.
And for those of you who don't know, is Turning Point all over the country now?
They are all over the country. Their headquarters is here in Arizona. And Arizona, since they're here, this should be the biggest fundraiser area, and it's not. I think Florida is.
Well, Florida's huge, so
Florida
that
is
makes
huge.
sense. Yeah. It's I've been to a couple of Turning Point events now. Charlie, that's really all Charlie's brainchild, right?
It is. Yeah, the guy is super smart.
Pretty amazing accomplishment. I wonder what's going to happen with him. What will become of him?
I don't know. They go after him pretty hard. I know that The View was after him yesterday, that stupid TV show with Whoopi Goldberg.
I think he's shutting those bitches down.
I think he is. But, you and I kind of go with the same attitude. The lead dog gets bit in the ass.
Yeah.
So you know what? I like being the lead dog.
Yeah, I think it's pretty funny. They're awful, that group. The fact that we even say their name makes me kind of throw up a little. I got to hold
I'm
it
with
down. Whoopi Goldberg, she is dumb as a box of rocks.
Yep.
And Joy Behar, the other one, she's dumb as a box of hammers too. I mean, there's just no logic. These girls, they really don't know anything about anything, and they're just talking all day long on TV. It's unbelievable.
They do. It's unbelievable. It's funny, though. I have a few friends in Hollywood, and while everybody comes out kind of liberal in Hollywood,
Yeah.
he said that when they're making movies, they don't talk about anything, but there's a group of them that always go in the back, and they're full-on conservatives. They just don't say anything because they want a job.
Yeah, I have conservative friends in Hollywood too who are film directors and writers and stuff like that, and they're like, yeah, man, they come out here to get their conservative on, and then they go back very under the radar. Now, the thing is, in Hollywood, if you don't say liberal stuff, it identifies you.
Yeah, exactly.
So they actually sometimes have to kind of fake it a little bit, and then they will come out here to get a conservative detox. It's so funny.
It is. It's hilarious. But you know what's not funny, and you just brought this up. We have people that are running on Republican tickets that are actually liberal,
Yep.
but they're being trained to be conservative until they get elected.
Yeah, for sure. Let's talk a little bit about folks running right now. Who do you like for what positions? Who do you like for governor?
Oh, so it's a no-brainer. So originally on our show, we had Matt Salmon, and it was always, for me, it was always between Matt Salmon and Kerry Lake, without a doubt.
And you know what's funny is I like Matt, and it was Matt and Kerry too, and I like him, the Arizona boy, good Mormon, and I figured he'd be an awesome conservative. Continue on.
Oh yeah, so the fact that he drops out and then endorses the other person set up some red flags. I'm just kind of wondering, did you get $2 million or $5 million for dropping out? So anyways, after meeting Carrie and her family, and obviously we've known Carrie for years, just seeing her on TV and around town, but actually getting to know her and her husband and the kids, without a doubt, she is exactly what Arizona needs.
It's funny. I agree so much, and I wasn't initially like, oh yeah, Carrie Lake, boom, boom. Let me put a sign up in my front yard. But I am now. I'm like, oh, I like her. I think she'll put the Arizona National Guard around the Tohono O'odham tribe's casino that's laundering money that they get from the cartels to keep the border open.
Good. I hope she does.
I think she'll be a baller. I think she'll do some outrageous stuff that needs to be done.
Oh, I think so. I think she's got putting a good team together. I remember originally there was rumors and everything. The one we got to kind of watch out for, the group, not all of them, AZGOP, they have not said anything. All of a sudden they're starting to pipe up about things. And that's a group, while they do a good job, and there's some good people there, there's a few of them that think they're going to dictate who's getting in and out of office. And that's the kind of stuff where people need to get involved and start making their voice heard.
I hate this shot caller behind the scene bullshit. You know, these folks who are anointing people. And I feel like Blake was anointed.
Right.
And he says all the right things, but he just not have the gravitas of a guy to stand up against 99 senators and lead.
No, I'm with you. And, with I don't think we can go wrong with Blake or Jim. And Mick was awesome.
I really liked Mick. He's urbane, erudite. He's a well-spoken guy and makes great arguments, but he just couldn't seem like he could ever get the momentum to get real numbers.
Right.
So he would have been a win. I think Jim Lehman's a fantastic win, and he is kind of my edged-out favorite. And if for some reason he doesn't make it and Blake were to win, I don't think that's a loss for Arizona. I think it would still be a win.
No, absolutely.
I think it would be a win for Arizona, but I think Jim shows up a different level of ready to do work.
Well, so we did that big parade before the rodeo in Prescott, and I got to tell you, most of the people were talking about Jim. So I think Jim actually has the edge on this one, and I think he's going to pull it off.
It was interesting at the Trump rally when you listened to him, Trump announce his endorsees or his endorsements. The one for Blake didn't come off as big.
Right.
You know, what surprised me was Abe Hamadeh.
Fantastic guy.
Fucking crowd went bonkers, didn't they?
First of all, so I've had lunch with Abe a couple times.
And he's been on the show. I like him.
Yeah, he's great. And so we've met up, and I kind of think we've become friends. And this guy is just absolutely amazing. Now, it pisses me off when people go, he's only 31 years old and he doesn't have experience. Good. Because I've asked him, I'm like, hey, day one, are you going to go in and fire everybody? He's like, I wouldn't be able to run it, but I'm going to fire a lot of people. I'm like, let me hold the door for you.
Yeah. The only thing that worries me about lawyers is being lawyers.
Exactly.
But, he's in the U.S. Army. He was in the Middle East last year. His family came from a failed country. That's still a failed country. He's here living the American dream in one generation, going from immigrant to, being a power player in America. That's a pretty cool thing.
It's awesome. And you know what? Where he lives is not some big fancy house. He doesn't live like he's got some family here. And I know his brother-in-law played ball for, I think, the Spurs. He doesn't live in that kind of house. So he's very modest, hard worker, out there hustling.
Yeah. There's been some knocks at him that his family put up some money for his campaign. There's been knocks that he's too young. When people start talking about attorneys having courage, I don't buy it. I think most attorneys are straight up cowards.
Yep.
The vast majority.
Vast majority.
I've only met a couple exceptions in my whole life. When you meet an attorney that's been downrange doing stuff for our military in a combat zone, I feel like that kind of qualifies him out of that category of do-nothings. I think that puts him into a category of accomplishment.
Well, and the fact, I think he's going to be one, yeah, absolutely. And I think he's going to be one that comes in here, I don't like this. I think he got off the plane last year and didn't recognize the country.
Yeah.
And he wanted to do something about it.
And if I don't know who the gal was from Ping or whatever. I guess she's
Dawn.
She's and she's a conservative.
Super nice.
Yeah,
she was fantastic. But she didn't start really hustling anything. We met her a few times. I thought she was great. But you know what? Abe's been out there hustling since day one.
Not only that, but I mean, he's got this. The fact that he's been in the military, he didn't come up in his family company, he didn't come up in the business. He's not. He's been standing on his own, and I really like that. And he's young, and you know what you get from youth? I hate to say it, but I mean, Jesus was a pretty young guy.
Yeah, he was.
You know what you get from youth is you get boldness, and you get they bring a naivete to things, which is okay because it allows you to try things you would not try that may turn out to be successful. Because if I knew what I knew now, I wouldn't have done this.
Exactly.
I came at it with a kind of youthful ignorance is bliss. Let's just do it. And now I'd be like, oh my God, that's going to be a huge pain in the ass. Let's find something easier to do, you know? So, but I really like him. He won me over during the AG debate where he said, I think it's a good day for Arizona that we executed that guy. We should be happy. Finally got justice for the families.
Yep.
I don't know what they're talking about. I mean, I was like, oh, okay, you get my vote.
No, exactly. He's been great. And there's some good candidates on AG. Don't get me wrong on it. And we'll be good with any of them. But Abe's been pulling ahead. Everybody seems to like him. I've been to a couple events where they're like, there's no way I'm voting for him. I'm voting for this other gal. They meet him after he talks. Shoo-in.
I think after Kerry, he's probably our next governor.
Yeah, hey, if he plays the game right, if he does stuff that Mark Brnovich isn't doing.
I think, see, people, I've been asked to run for office numerous times, and I think cold bore shot right out of the gate going for governor. I'm too small to do that, but I think I could go for the AG position, and it's the job I would want. Because as an attorney general in Arizona, you can move the needle in law enforcement in every town in this state.
No, absolutely. And a lot of people don't realize the attorney general does not work for the governor. It's amazing.
Independent.
It's independent.
Yeah.
It's amazing how many people are like, well, we need a good governor because he's going to tell the AG what to do. Absolutely not.
Right. It's probably the job I would want to leapfrog into being governor. That is the job, because I think from there you can change the face of law enforcement. You can change the face of every single problem that's tackling society in the attorney general's office, you can stir it up.
Yep, absolutely. So as attorney general, what would you do with all these homeless? So I'm driving down the road, 27th Avenue in Northern. I turn the corner and there's a guy on a king-size bed, half in the road, half on the cement. He was alive. What the hell's going on here? I think most of them, the ones at Scottsdale in the 101, they got nice shoes, so I figure it's a scam. But this homeless stuff is ridiculous. We need people like Abe, Kerry, and others stand up and say, hey, you know what, guys? We're going to be compassionate, but we're moving now. We got to clean this thing up.
I think that dysfunction in society creeps from the cracks.
Right.
And I think that homelessness is a multifaceted problem. So when you talk to conservatives who want to do housing for homeless, they're not conservatives.
Exactly.
They're socialists.
Yep.
When you talk to people who want to do housing for homeless, what you get is the projects. And what you get is condensed crime and poverty and rape and incest and murder.
Yep.
Because that's what goes on in condensed. You get ghettos. So I'm not a fan of them anywhere in the world ever. I'm a fan of closing our border, stopping the flow of fentanyl, arresting people, enforcing drug laws, jamming people up, and harming their life if they choose the wrong path.
Yep, absolutely.
So that I think we have a crisis of accountability in this nation. So homeless people are no longer accountable to confronting good citizens walking down the street. Therefore, they've gotten aggressive.
Yep, they sit there and bang on the window. Scottsdale and Shea is a prime example.
They're very aggressive now, and I've actually had to threaten people to get out of my space. Like, hey, I'm going to hit you. I'm worried about maybe Hep C and something else you've got, but you touch my son again, I'm going to fucking drop you.
Yep.
And that was up in Seattle, actually. When laws are not enforced, they're emboldened, and now within the camps, there's hierarchy of who's been homeless longer, and they're the queen of the camp.
Yep, exactly.
So I actually think the homelessness thing, it's only a problem if you're a Marxist.
Yep.
It's not a problem if you're a capitalist, because you go, okay, well, first let's just start enforcing a bunch of laws and let's see what happens. Because we had a flow of drugs 10 years ago and 20 years ago, and we didn't have all of this going on.
Right. Just
enforce laws. A lot of this will start cleaning itself up.
Yep.
Enforce vagrancy laws, enforce decency laws. A lot of this stuff will it'll, and you know what? You can't get rid of it all no matter what. It's going to be there. I just don't want it out in the streets so my kids are afraid of it.
No, neither do I. And back to your point about the projects and all that, I don't think we should get homes for the homeless. They need to be fixed first. Put them into some sort of rehab. Hey, you got 60 days of rehab, get them off drugs, get them a little bit educated. Then, if they need help with the house, then maybe we go from there.
My solution for homelessness is jail if you won't become a part of society again.
Well-
Where else? When did we stop saying that if you don't want to be a part of society, we'll buy you a home?
Absolutely.
That's bananas.
Absolutely. Which brings us to a next point. Maybe we should privatize jails because the government is doing a horrible job of running them.
Well, they're very privatized here in Arizona,
right.
obviously, okay? What I would be interested in is privatizing the legal system.
Right.
And people will bristle at this and come up with all sorts of theoreticals. The legal system doesn't work in this country.
It doesn't.
And if you ever get in trouble or get jammed up, you will find out really, really quickly. I will give you whatever money you want from me that will allow me to untangle myself from your legal fly trap.
Right.
Just tell me how much money you need so I can get away. Because there's no justice, there's no truth, there is no efficiency, there's no honor in it. It's awful.
No,
at every
absolutely.
level.
Every level. And the more money you have, the worse. I mean, Pelosi's husband just made a couple more $1 million on insider trading. You and I would be in jail right now.
Right. And if you had a private justice system, there would be more impetus to go after white-collar crime and fix this country.
Yep.
There's no money in it the way it's being done right now. If you put a little money in it, a little motivation in it, white-collar crime would disappear overnight.
Oh, I agree.
Because they're the most afraid. I have a friend who works at the Justice Department. He says, man, he goes, you don't have to torture white-collar criminals. All you have to do is sit them down at a table, let them sit for 15 or 20 minutes by themselves, put a flashlight on them, walk into the room and say, you're going to jail for 25 years. The first 5, you won't see your kids. Tell me who was involved. He said they fucking sing like Frank Sinatra.
Yep.
They said nobody sings quicker. Nobody sings quicker than right. You could shut down white collar crime and political corruption in this country in honestly in 12 months by privatizing the justice system.
And we should. Maybe we should privatize a lot of stuff.
It's something to look at. Maybe the justice system would be more about keeping an eye on privatization. Prison systems, they don't function well. The justice system, there is no justice, and it doesn't function. And so at least it was putting up a barrier between the criminals and us 25 years ago.
Yeah.
Now it's not doing that.
Now it's not doing that.
So I say if anyone says, if you sit down with a good left of center attorney, they will make all these great public policy reasons why it has to be a government-run organization. Except all of the arguments fail in light of so much failure.
Yep.
Say, okay, well, that's fine, but it's not working now, so let's try something different. This is bizarre.
And we need to get good sheriffs.
Yeah.
So, that's the other thing, too. I got to tell you, so we were at an event together there, and Mark Lamb, that guy is beyond cool.
Mark's great. Is he arresting as many people as he's doing news conferences?
No, probably not. He likes the TV stuff.
Yeah.
But, overall, when you meet him, he's just, super cool. He fits the persona of what a sheriff in Arizona should be.
He's great, and I would love a blend of him and Arpaio.
Yep.
A blend of those two would be great. So, Mark, I know you don't watch my show, but I would spend less time doing public appearances and more time arresting people because it is a powerful position, arresting people and bringing safety to the community.
Yep.
And it's more powerful than being seen everywhere.
Yep, exactly.
And maybe he could do a little of both.
No, I agree.
I'd like to see him in Attack Fest arresting more people and take off the baseball hat and the country star grin. I thought he was a country music star when I met him.
He does look like
Doesn't he look like
he does.
He looks like me, just bust out a good song. He's got a cute little wife. And he looks like a country music guy. And I saw him around, and I was like, man, look. I said, who's the country music guy over there? Like, that's the sheriff. I'm like, you're kidding. So I'd like to see him arresting more people. And he's got a great personality, and he's got a great way about him. And I think he has a huge future. I think he's got to go kick down some more doors.
Right.
Though.
Yeah, we need to kind of get away from the media being involved in what's going on in the jails because, quite honestly, if you get in trouble, you're probably deserving to be there. I don't need to see that, Joe Blow got his ass kicked for, stealing drugs in jail. He deserved it, but we don't need to read about that stuff.
It's funny. It's funny how the treatment of criminals is bigger news than the treatment of victims of crime.
It is, and we need to get away from that.
So this is a thing where Attorney General really matters. So Abe looks like he's your choice and my choice for Attorney General. Let's talk about Secretary of State, Arizona.
Oh, love it. So
who's your guy?
So first of all, Shauna is fantastic. She's a great person. Just overall, she's very kind of dry when you meet her and stuff. Shauna Bullock.
Okay. Yep.
So Trump endorsed Mark Fincham. So, that automatically gives you a lot of votes right there. And I've had Mark on the show, and Mark is
What show do you do?
So we have a show called The Lockbox. So it's never about Arizona real estate, but it's about why we
Is it
love
a
Arizona.
podcast?
It's a video podcast. We were shooting out of Dave Pratt Studios for a while.
Oh, okay.
So
All right.
it's kind of fun. But so we had Mark on it, and Mark plays the role great. He's one of those guys that's just real aggressive. Almost, I mean, he's funny and stuff. So we don't really have much of a choice on Secretary of State. It's going to be either Mark or Shauna.
And who's your pick?
I had to pull the trigger for Mark.
I think Mark's the perfect candidate for it. Now, although I don't know her, and I'm sure she'd be better than most Democrats, Mark has got the right background.
He does.
He's got a law enforcement background, and he's got a cybersecurity tech background. And those two things together, it is where the discussion is right now. So when we get folks in who aren't really techie, they're ill-prepared to talk to the board of supervisors,
Yep.
the county supervisors on the election. They're ill-prepared to talk about electronic balloting and counting boxes and blockchain technology and all this stuff that's coming into play at the forefront of election security right now. And I think election integrity, I think it slipped out of control right around John Kennedy's time.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right.
And I think we have all been dealing with a skewed system, and the only time conservatives ever win is when they win by so much they beat the anomaly of the system. The system's got problems.
Exactly. Because they tried cheating with Hillary and Trump. It was just too big.
And it's why they cried. Because they're like, wait a minute, how did that happen? People don't act that way unless they knew the outcome was going to be something else.
Exactly.
This is very controversial to talk about, and people get really upset about this. But there has been a wool pulling over the American population's eyes for more than a half century.
Oh, I agree. You think you're voting for someone, it's already been predetermined, and we need to get back to making sure we pick the winners.
It's one of the best things that happened from the Trump 2020 election, the way it went down,
right,
is to see what our observed reality versus reported reality. I always say, what did you see? What did you hear? I've taken my kids to events, and then I make them watch the news about it afterwards. And they'll say, well, that didn't happen. I go, oh, interesting. But they just said it did on TV. He didn't say that. No, he didn't. You were there.
Right.
Oh, the crowd was this. No, it wasn't, Papa. And I go, well, you saw. I wanted you to see what was reported and what happened. Problem is, that's everywhere. It's everything. The best thing about Trump is, you got to expose yourself to fight him.
Exactly. Now, hopefully our AG, and I've talked to all of them on this one, and Don was actually, they got their freedom of speech and this and that. We need to do something about the media. You and I can't walk on a plane and yell bomb, but yet you can go on media and say, you make up these total lies that are 100% bullshit. Media needs to be held accountable, and people need to start demanding that.
Well, what I think would be really interesting is a website, because I always find information in light of day to be the most provocative against disinformation.
Right.
I think a rating system, how we rate the news, would be pretty amazing. But then who do you have rated?
Exactly.
Because, there was Snopes, and then there was Drudge Report, and, there's always this fact-checking going on, right? But who checks the fact-checkers?
Right. And the fact-checkers, if you look at, they're all liberal.
What's interesting now, though, is with the internet and with the fragmenting of the media market, the way it's happened, Kerry said at the event on Saturday that the previous night, one of the major channels in Arizona, in a market of 6 million people, had 2,000 viewers on a Friday night. Because they know real numbers now. It's not the Nielsen ratings and an antenna broadcasting to points unknown. It's actual wires and digital, and they know who's on. Said they had 2,000 viewers. To give you an idea, the media is so scared of everyone finding out what the real numbers are, because the real numbers are infinitely small and way less than anybody thinks. Yep. Nobody's turning on the evening news anymore being informed that way.
No, absolutely.
So, it's this type of thing, this kind of grassroots reporting and discussion that's, it's really a disrupting technology for media.
It is. And you know what? I love it when people come up and ask questions, because you know what? I've learned some stuff.
Yeah.
People need to just be, hey, I'm voting for so-and-so. Well, I'm voting for so-and-so. Why? Talk about it and then research it.
So, let's talk just for a minute about the AG position, which Mark Brnovich sits in right now. Brnovich, in my opinion, he touts himself as having done all kinds of stuff, and I don't think he's done shit, and he hasn't done anything the first year after the election. I'd have been rounding people up because there is so much video and actual evidence that I've personally seen.
Right.
I'd say, hey, you know what? As Attorney General, just start rounding them up. And we don't need an entire case. We just need a whiff of a case. And let's start pulling at the threads and see what unravels. Because sometimes you just got to do the work. They're all worried about their winning record.
Well, you know, and that's the other thing, too. They have no idea who their audience. NFL, they started getting all woke. They have no idea who their audience is. Mark Brnovich, had he started a case, he'd be a shoo-in for his run.
Yeah, he would. And right now, I think he's dead on arrival.
Yep.
So, and it's a win for Arizona, whether we get Blake Masters or Jim. But Jim's got some fantastic ideas. And the water project that he wants to spearhead, what if that takes 25 years to pull off? Because that would be a lot to accomplish as a senator in a couple
absolutely.
terms. But it would push Arizona into the future for a century.
And that's why we need to elect the right people to start pushing towards the future.
Yeah.
Jim's passionate about it. And Jim, I mean, if you guys have not met Jim, go to an event. And if you don't want to pay the money, there's plenty of free events to go to.
Yeah, he's awesome. I had dinner with him after an event. It was just a small table with a few people at it, and I sat next to him, and he and I talked about stuff. I was like, man, I like him. And Blake, I'm sure, is a bright guy. He's a new conservative. He's been liberal most of his life. And I don't mind woke new conservatives. Carrie's a new conservative.
Right, exactly.
I'm okay with, born again conservative. It's okay to find out you're right and then be right.
Yep.
But Jim brings a long-time conservative, big, bold thinking and a fearlessness that I really, really like.
And he's not one who's going to get pushed around.
Oh, no one's going to push him around.
No, exactly.
I like dudes who've been on the gridiron. I really do.
No, I'm with you.
Okay, so we've got AG, we've got Secretary of State, we've got Governor. How about school board?
Oh, school board. Okay.
No, I'm sorry, not school board.
State Superintendent of Public Instruction.
Schools, yes.
Oh, without a doubt, Sherry Sapir.
Sherry Sapir, too.
Without a
I
doubt.
really like her.
So I have an issue. So Tom Horn is a super nice guy. His wife really nice. But I got to ask, why, if you're that old, would you want to run for a position for schools?
Well, I got another question. All this happened on your watch. Where were you?
Yeah,
Because
exactly.
I haven't heard him speak up about anything. Failure of leadership.
Yep.
I don't care how old you are.
No, Sherry's a fighter. And she was in the military, Israel.
Yep. I like her because she's scrappy. I like her because she loves America. I love people who've come here from other countries because they have a relative perspective that natural-born American citizens mostly lack.
Yeah, exactly. And she is. So I'm proud to say, since day one, since she started this, we kind of got things going. Without a doubt, Sherry Sapir and grassroots.
And if you've ever wanted to tangle with an Israeli Jew, you want to get out of that fight as fast as you can because they'll eat your lunch. So I am happy to sick an Israeli Jewish woman onto the liberal nut jobs of this state because they are in for a rude awakening.
Absolutely.
She won't back down, and I think she'll chew their arm off.
She will. And, she's a business owner. Her family has good
construction,
business.
right?
Yep. And I think a gun company, too.
I really like her. I think she'd be a badass for the position. And she's a mom. She's dealt with all this. She loves kids. She's not, it's for the children. She's like, no, it's for the country.
Yeah, exactly. It's for Arizona.
I'm sick of people saying it's for the children.
Yep.
Because it's for the children has brainwashed a dumb generation.
Yep, exactly.
It's for the country. It's not for the children. The children are not the product.
Yep.
The country is the product.
The country is the product, exactly.
Yeah, the children are not the product. They're going to be there. They'll eat their own poo, play video games, they'll masturbate and watch porn if you leave it to them.
Right.
Children are awful little beings unless they're being guided well.
As they should. We got to get parents back on track.
Yes.
Get off your Zoloft and start playing with your kids.
I totally agree. And enough TV babysitting and all of that stuff that goes on. There's enough digital engagement. We've got to be engaging with our kids.
No, exactly. And you know what? Your kid at 9 years old does not need a cell phone. So you know what? He doesn't need to take a phone to school. He needs to go to school and learn. And they need to, have dinner as a family.
Bobby, what? I got it? Oh, yeah, okay.
So Board of Supervisors, Gail Golick. Awesome.
Yeah, Gail's in. We like her. She's got a huge amount of America First integrity on what's going to be coming in her way in her office. I like Gail Golick for sure.
She's great. Now, for the local stuff, you have the different divisions and stuff. Jerome Davidson over in Chandler, Gilbert.
Jerome.
You know Jerome?
Yeah, I like Jerome.
So you heard what just happened to him, right?
About almost dying and sick? Yeah.
So I'm kind of thinking someone poisoned him after that incredible ballsy video he put out.
Maybe. Who knows? He might have just gotten sick traveling, but I'm glad he seems to have turned the corner. And
Yeah,
be okay.
he's out of the hospital.
Yeah,
and stuff.
I like Jerome a lot.
So he's a good guy. But everybody in different cities, you guys need to get involved and figure out who your school board members are going to be.
Who you got school board for Cave Creek?
So you got Jackie Ulmer and Scott Brown. Those are your two conservatives and proven conservatives. They've got a few other people that are going to run.
Are they replacing conservatives or are they up against libs?
One lib. So
all right, so
there's two spots open. We need two conservatives in there to kind of offset everything.
You know, what is it about communities that get well-heeled? When you start seeing more Porsches in the neighborhood, they go left.
You know what?
It's bananas.
It is. It's crazy.
I look at it and I go, because I lived in Cave Creek, now in Carefree, grew up in Scottsdale, and I'm like, guys, we're all driving Porsches and Mercedes and super high F-350 platinum trucks. I mean, you guys have all been. Why are you all voting Marxist?
Because nobody wants to. They're all brainless. They just don't want to look and do the research.
I don't get it. I go, you've all these big fucking houses and beautiful cars and wives all dolled up just right and great clothing and all the nice shoes and enough fucking Swiss watches. How can you be voting left? I don't get it.
Now, just imagine how your business would look if you were a liberal trying to run this business that you have.
Oh, it'd go out of business.
It would go out, absolutely. And you wouldn't have all these killer employees.
Yeah. It would be the spirit of the place would be very
It'd probably
different.
be like a foam knife.
Well, no, you know what it would be? It would be a bunch of youngsters sitting around a design office drawing up cool pictures, outsourcing it to China.
Yeah,
Because
absolutely.
that's what it would be.
Exactly.
Because they could home office and draw pictures in their underwear.
Exactly.
Hey, listen, fun having you on. Is there anything you'd like to plug before we bounce?
No, hey, anybody. So listen, it's important that we vote the right people in. If you've got questions, call myself or Greg. The Grandon Group is Arizona's #1 brother and sister real estate team. So we handle the entire valley, and we are Arizona first realtors. Means we love you all, but listen, we are promoting Arizona first.
Do you have a lot of Californians that come in that you represent?
Tons. And it is great, Greg.
Talk to me about it.
So real quick, they come
Because
in.
guys out in the rest of the country, when the Californians come here, it is the bane of our existence because they've been used as an excuse by the left for the cheated politics, I think.
Right, absolutely.
Because I think conservatives are coming from California. Am I wrong?
No, they are. It's funny. A couple from San Francisco here about a month ago come out to buy a house. And I'm like, I got to take these liberals out.
Fucking Californians, yeah.
And so, anyways, we meet with them, and they kind of feel us out a little bit. I'm feeling them out, and he's like, we're going shooting when I'm done here. And I bought a cowboy hat. I'm like, there you go. That's exactly what we want.
It's funny. I pull up next to cars with California license plates, and I roll, hey, how you doing? And they're like, and I point at their car, and they think I'm pointing at a flat tire. They roll the window, like, yeah. I'm like, hey, did you buy a gun yet? And they're like, excuse me? I'm like, you came from California. Did you buy a gun? And they're like, I got one in the car right now. Or sometimes they're like, they start rolling the window back. I'm like, go back to fucking California.
Yep.
I'm like, don't ruin my Arizona. I love it here.
No, it is. It's a great place to live, and we want to keep it that way.
Bananas. Okay, so the Grandon Group.
Grandon Group. Yep.
Jason, thanks for coming in. If people want to reach you, do you have an email they can reach out at?
Yeah, they can go to the website, thegrandongroup.com, or Jason at instantrenters.com. We help rentals, so.
All right, cool. So you got all kinds of stuff going on.
Got a ton of stuff going.
And you get to see everything flowing in and out.
We
because
do.
You're doing a lot of transactions.
We do. And hey, listen, if you guys want to go to some of these events to meet the candidates, call us up. I will get you in. If I have to pay to get you in, it is really important that you get out there and meet these candidates.
Yeah, it's really fun. I've actually really loved the process of meeting everybody. I've met a lot of the people now in this game, and it's fun, and it's nice to get the time to pull them off the side and say, hey, listen, your idea about that thing, that's big government. I don't want you doing that.
Right.
I want less of that. And they go, oh, I see what you mean. I'm like, that is big government. That'll only fail. That can't possibly work.
Yep.
They say, well, why do you say that? I go, well, because they tried that in Chicago. They tried it in Watts. They tried it in New York. That thing doesn't work you're talking about.
Yep, and they're doing it with the city councils here. Scottsdale's one of the worst ones.
Yeah, yeah. Well, bananas.
Hey.
Pleasure having you in.
Yeah, you too, Greg.
Hey, sports fans, that's the show. You heard it here. So go to iTunes or Spotify. You can find us there, The Greg Medford Show. You can even find us on Rumble. We've diversified our risks in case anybody tries to shut us down, and I'm out.